Hello, welcome. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Hangry Mexican. She is a writer, comedian, actor, content creator. It's almost like she does it all. Her name is Joana Gallo. You probably recognize her from projects like Living with Latinos, where she did several sketches, played different characters, or maybe you have heard of Joana through her character, La Comadre Pansha. Very funny. She is hilarious, witty, smart. And when I heard that she was going to be on this podcast, I was just so delighted because I think that she is one of those pioneers that are moving the ball forward when it comes to working in the digital space and being quite successful at it. So let's get started. And DJ, where are you, DJ? Oh, there you are. Roll that music. First, I was looking at your Instagram account, and it's Mother's Day today, and it was Mexican Mother's Day on Friday. So how did you celebrate that?
Correct. Mother's Day, you know what? It's so special, and I'm so I overthink it because my mom is we don't live in the same city, so I try to send something that she likes or something, but I don't know how to guess with her. She doesn't tell me. She's one of those moms, they're like, Ma, what do you want? She speaks Spanish. Can I speak Spanish here?
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
she's like, Ma, porque for me it's ama. Ama, ¿qué vas a querer el Día de las Madres? Nada. So she's always with a nothing. But so it's so hard to guess what she likes. So I got her some concert tickets, and she wanted like some diet pills, but I didn't get her that. So just something, summer's coming, so some shades and stuff, and send her some flowers because, what would we be without our mamas, right? And yeah, so like every time I visit her, at least if she's like, here, llévate esto, take some taquitos for the road, do this, do something. She's always trying to help. So, like, how can I give her something and that means to someone who means so much to me? So I'm like, oh, what should I do? What about you?
Well, I went to go visit my mom yesterday, and since I couldn't today, but we also live in different cities now, and growing up, she would always create these elaborate Mexican dishes that I'm trying to recreate now, but it's kind of hard. It's not like she kept a recipe book. It's just, out of memory. She just did it.
Oh, yeah. And Mexican moms, I do it myself too. Like, we don't follow instructions. We just like it. You got it or you don't. You got add the seasoning on el sazon. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, few weeks ago when I was over at her place, she made mole, chicken mole. And I took a picture of it, and I forgot to actually post it then. And I figured, you know what? It's Mexican Mother's Day Friday. I might as well post it. It's great. And so I posted that, and then she calls me up, right? She sees she's on Instagram. She's on Instagram, and she calls me, and I answer the phone, and she says, hey, mijo, when did you eat mole? And she thought it was a recent picture. And I told her, don't you recognize it's your mole? It's your mole. You're the one that made it. I just took a picture of it, but it was so funny. She called me so concerned, like almost like if I was cheating on her with some other.
She was like, ¿Dónde comiste? It's not mine. It's your mom. It's yours. Yeah. That's so cute.
And then, I gave her some flowers, of course. So everything was good. That's how I celebrated it. And with a little call from her afterwards, too.
Yeah, of course.
So that's great, though, that I think they in a way, I think they almost guilt you into getting them something.
Yes. Yeah,
Say,
and I'm trying to decipher what you want, and then but I just tell me please. And then if you don't get them anything, they're like, no me hizo nada. So I'm just planning a surprise, like a surprise for her birthday, like something like I'll take her to the beach or something,
Yeah. Oh,
But,
there you go. There you go.
but yeah, it's funny. It's like I don't want anything. No quiero nothing. I do it in my character, La Comadre Pansha, too. Like, nothing. And then when the moment comes, no se acordaron de mí. They didn't, the guilt. It's like, I've been asking.
Exactly. Well, and I'm glad you mentioned Comadre Pancha because that's one of the characters that you played, and I know you played a lot on other things that you've done, but this character in particular stuck around. So what was the inspiration behind that, and how is it that he became one of like the most beloved characters that you stuck with?
Well, thank you for the question. La Comadre Pancha started I am from Mexicali, Mexico. It's a very small town. And, when you live in a small town, a lot of people know each other and the gossip goes very, very broad. So you have all these people that are very chismosa. They play the double discourse. They love criticizing people, but they don't really look at themselves. So I see Comadre Pancha is for me like a way to make a satire of our own society, especially she is a single mother and her son is gay, but she doesn't accept it because society doesn't seem like in a church, what will people say? She's so afraid of what will people say. But and she pretends to be religious and be the best of the best, but at the same time, like she has all these flaws. Like sometimes she can be homophobic, sometimes she can be like racist, sometimes but is the way to take the small-minded person, and she's learning through her videos, like, hey, this is wrong, she's learning to be woke, let's say.
Yeah, and
in a very satirical way. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that's the interesting thing about the Latino culture, especially with the Mexicanos, where we like to say things that are probably not acceptable in modern society, especially here in the United States, but we do it almost not even knowing, like being ignorant on it. It just kind of makes it funny. Yeah, exactly. Very humble. I was gonna say very, very humble people is what I was gonna say, because we talk without really knowing what really truly we're seeing or how it's coming across. And so that's how my mom is too. Like she just says like, "Mijo, man, you gained fat, man. You got fat." And then you gotta work out, and then and so she criticizes me for sometimes I post photos of some pretty healthy stuff that I'm eating, like salads or steaks or something. and then at the same time she says like, "Man, that mijo, that stuff's gonna like make you sick and all this and that, and you're gonna get diabetes." And then and I tell her, "Yeah, but you're in the meantime you're eating like arroz con leche and like buñuelos with a pinole and like really saturated in sugar. I mean, what's that?" So it's so funny.
We always have that member of the family who's like, "Ay, te estás poniendo gordita, you're getting fat, but porque why are you gonna eat no carbs? No vas a comer tortillas. Here, eat more." Or like, if you're trying a new diet or something that it doesn't go like, "Oh, I'm vegan." Oof, like they get hurt. But you just told me I was fat. No, come, eat.
Yeah.
But we all have that, taking it back to La Comadre Pansha, we all have that tia in that sense, or sometimes yourself, that you can say something from that in your culture seem okay, but then you realize like, oh, this is not very PC. Like, this is not very right. Like, you have a tia who calls every Asian person a chinito.
Mm-hmm.
She'll be that person. Or like, oh, como que, like, because it's very into the gossip, you know. But where I want to take the character is that she's a person with all these flaws that comes from a very small town, from a very ignorant and poor socioeconomic status, and very religious.
Mm-hmm.
That through her experiences in every video, she will be learning something, you know, like learning why is it wrong that her son has to fake a girlfriend for Christmas dinner, or like, why can't he be himself, you know, like, why can she accept that her husband left her, and so things like that we see in our families that are relatable to like our situations. But I don't want to make fun of people who are like that. I think that's why people like her, because every day she's learning about something new, you know, and she's opinionated regardless. Because, you know, it's very hard to make comedy nowadays. Then there's been people who don't understand satire, and it's very hard to make comedy because anything you say can be taken the wrong way.
Yeah.
So they can spin it off, and with her, I mean, I say what I want, but there's always a purpose of learning. I don't want to make fun of anybody, but it's a way to show our culture, our family, our traditions, but with a purpose, let's say, like that.
Yeah. And did you always know that you wanted to be a comedian?
You know what? I don't know. I didn't know that career existed when I was growing up. I didn't know like you had a chance to do this and to do that. I come from a very low socioeconomic status. So I come from that small town, and I remember seeing videos. You know, you remember those tape recorders that were so heavy and you would put on your shoulder?
Oh,
I'm talking
yeah.
about the 90s one that, oh my God, they were so heavy. So like I would put it on, and as a kid start making shows like, hey, welcome to my pencil. What am I going to draw today? I don't know where those videos are. And so I was the oldest of three girls, and my mom was a single mom. So like I had a lot of time by myself and a lot of energy. So I was just always, if we needed to say a recital in school, I was the one doing the recital. If we needed to do a dance, I was the one. As long as there was a stage, I was there. But I didn't realize it until later, like my way to get out, coming to the U.S. and because I was born here, but I didn't live here until later in life. So it was through education, and I had to focus on that. But later I started doing like theater and started doing, and I'm talking later, like when I was 18, I was like, okay, I graduated high school, time to do some acting and theater as a hobby. In the meantime, I was going to university. I have a master's in history.
Oh, wow.
And with that, I got to travel a lot academically and do a lot of research and great stuff. But I never left being like involved in acting or doing comedy and stuff. And now creating my own content, and because there was time I was teaching at SDSU history, it's like, okay, it's time to do this full time. And I'm talking about being a comedian and actor and stuff. And I mean, it's hard, but yeah, I've always knew I liked this, that I could do it. It wasn't an option. Like, oh, I can't, until later in life. And look, I'm in my 30s and I'm barely being able, I still have my day job, but I'm barely like, okay, getting out there, you know, I feel.
Well, and you know, it's I imagine it must be a really interesting observation that you probably made early on, where if if it wasn't you, maybe your parents. 'Cause I know my parents grew up watching those old Mexican films, and you have successful comedians like Cantinflas and
Mm-hmm.
others that are actually male, but then all of a sudden
Uh-huh.
you get this breakout star with La India Maria, for example, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, and so how what was the, if there was any inspiration when you watch these films that included characters like La India Maria that are breakthrough uh, comedians in Mexican cinema that kind of helped you move along the way? Well, did they actually help you,
Mm-hmm.
inspire you to go into the comedy world full time as a woman?
Yeah, it is very interesting you asked that because when growing up, there weren't many Mexican comedians, female Mexican comedians doing this. I
Hmm.
remember La India Maria, as you mentioned. I remember a lot Annabelle
Hmm.
because Annabelle was more of the Carol Burnett. I grew up in La Frontera, in the border. So I had, even though I didn't speak English, I would see what Carol was doing. I would see like I Love Lucy. I would see American TV shows, even though I didn't understand it. I would see like the type of comedy, reading to it. Um, Whether in Mexico we had a lot of it, the comedy was very popular and still is. Like whenever I want to pitch something, they always want sexy involved in it. Like,
Hmm.
oh, like anything Jorge Ortiz de Pineda, and all the women were sexualized.
Hmm.
So I didn't want to do that. But I like India Maria. It was a stereotype, but I liked that she was able to do what she did. And even though you like it or not, what these female comedians did, it opened a door for you to
Hmm.
create something, Annabelle, I really liked. I like clean comedy. I don't like to do. I like to observe all kinds of comedy, but to do, I don't like to be sexualized just for the purpose of a laugh. I like people thinking about something, and creating social commentary about it. But yeah, so I grew up looking at that. I think Derbez did a wonderful thing. It's not a female, but I like what he did with like Familia Peluche and stuff. It was he gathered pieces from other places like Monsters Family, like here and there, and put together something that is very watchable, very relatable, and like and clean. um of course, Chespirito, very, I love physical comedy, and Chespirito, what like Bolaños did, it was very clean. I mean, to be able to be seen, dude, like in so many countries, translated to so many languages, and still be, he's our Shakespeare of comedy in Mexico, like I was like, oh, he's really good. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. No, I used to watch it religiously.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter how old you are, and even still, I talk to my niece, and she knows who he is. Like, oh yeah, El Chavo or something. But people who I really liked watching American television and comedians like I Love Lucy, the Carol Burnett Show. Even though I didn't speak English, I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, and those actually were physical comedians, if you will.
Hmm.
They were very
And SNL, of sure,
yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were saying, sorry.
No, no. It's just pointing out that these two women that you mentioned, Carol Burnett and then Lucy, they're very
Mhm.
physical in their comedy, and it just elevates the game in a world where
Yeah,
male comedians kind of dominated that field.
yeah.
And so now going back to your comedy, uh you
I
it
still
seems
do.
it
I
seems
still
and
do.
and it seems like you've drawn from little bits from all these inspirations to create your own comedy. Or is there one inspiration out there, one comedian that you admire that you kind of base your comedy around?
There's not a particular one that I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna try to imitate that, or not imitate, but like draw my comedy from, because
Mm-hmm.
I believe like we all have individual experiences, and one way to create comedy is to see what makes you special, or like what makes people laugh but tells your story at the same time. So I love the Chappelle, I love Ricky Gervais, I love British comedy as well,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't have the same experiences they have,
Mm-hmm.
and we're not gonna have the same, even though we still can talk about an issue like, oh, deciding what to eat today. It won't be the same experience. So I love Gabriel Iglesias as well. Like, I think those three are doing so good this year. I would love to see like more female comedy. But in terms of design, making a decision what my comedy is, like, I'm writing a web series because I want to show a little bit of like my writing skills for real skis, and not working as a ghostwriter for other social media platforms. And it's more like situational comedy. So like situational comedy, like I said, I love IT Crowd,
Mm-hmm.
The Office. I love characters who are kind of selfish in terms of comedy, like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, or those characters that do something on the TV or on their show that you enjoy, but you can't do yourself, because you have to be so correct, and you just can't, but they release that energy for you. So I'm working on that. And in my comedy, I tried to do stand up, but more of stand up was more like spoken word / stand up, and it's super hard for me. That's the hardest. That, like, being able to, it's literally like if you were naked in front of like the audience, because you are describing yourself, your stories, and you have to be so secure about it. So I've done everything from that. So I feel like I'm trying out like different things now with digital media. Of course, you gotta do little things, but I don't like the easy laughs of the comedy that is like, I'm just gonna show some cleavage, and make
Yeah.
something funny, haha, and that's quick and it's forgettable. My goal is to make something that it's legendary, like it's that it builds on something, it's just not just washable comedy or anything like that. But I'm working on it.
Well, and you're doing a great job at it. I mean, I love
Oh,
what you did with the Roma parody.
you saw that?
Oh
Okay.
yeah, oh yeah. That was just hilarious, especially because I had just seen the movie, and so I totally got the references in there. But it was just fantastic. And did you write that parody piece?
Yes, I did. Oh my god. Okay, so yes, I did, and I forgot to mention I've always wanted to be in SNL, but I understand I have an accent and stuff. So,
Well,
sorry.
they need somebody there with an accent.
You think so? They have Melissa
Yeah.
Villaseñor, and she's really great. I'm glad she's getting a spotlight. Actually,
Yeah, they just need to
mm-hmm.
add more people. Yeah.
Yeah, but the women that rock. I mean, Leslie. Oh, she's great.
Yeah. Well, have you like auditioned for SNL at all or submitted
No,
something?
I've been wanting. And sorry, we'll get back to the Roma question now. But yeah, I've been wanting to go to the Second City School in Chicago. I
Hmm.
know LA is closer to me, but I don't know. I feel like, or the Upright Citizens Brigade School, just to get a taste of it, because you can't audition to SNL if you don't have an invite, or like you don't know anybody there. You can just come and be like, "Hey, I'm great." I know one of the people they have in cast right now, like she was making really good YouTube videos, so they called her, and she's there. and she's really talented, but I don't know how they work as of today. You know, everything in media and this, everything changes so quick. So yeah, so back to Roma. I watched the film and I was like, okay, I had come back from working in Living with Latinos. It was a Facebook watch show that had like 10 million followers.
That's perfect. We'll talk about that also very soon.
Yeah, and I done like a contract there and moved back to my city where I live, where I'm staying right now. And I was like, oh my God, I miss shooting, making videos. And I saw Roma. Seriously, I woke up and I was like, I need to create something. You know, that feeling you have, and I need to do something, because if not, I will not be happy with myself. So I sat down and started writing. I needed another female and like more posh one. And it was funny because I texted Olga on a Saturday morning, like at 7 a.m. I was like, Olga, I have this idea. Do you want to do a parody of Roma? This is the idea. And she's like, yes, I'll be there in your house at 1 p.m. So between 7 and 1 p.m., I had to write it. And I sent her the script, the pseudo script I had. She was reading in her car, so sweet. And I went to the market to get the props. So it was really funny because at the time I was very sick, and that was a sketch itself. I went to the market and I bought this. I was sick, so I got Theraflu. I got a cucumber. I got condoms. I got 1 glass of wine and wine. So the cashier was like, what are you planning to do? And I was like, it's for a sketch. But if it wasn't, why not, you know? And came back home at 1. She was there. Like, we shot it. I edited it. My husband helped me to edit. Yeah. And then we just shot it with like the phone and, oh my God, my ring light, and just got it out. But I'm glad people really seem to like it. I don't measure it by numbers, you know, but I got a lot of calls because of that, of that, and the response was really good.
Wow. Yeah, no, it was a beautiful piece of work. I kept watching it over and over again because I couldn't believe how funny it was. I was just laughing.
But imagine, okay, we did that with a phone and just a script on the phone. Imagine what we could do if we had more cameras, more lighting, more space for us, más espacios para enseñar lo que podemos hacer. And I was like, why can't we do it in Spanish and read it? And I'm planning to do more. I have more scripted, so that's one thing I'm planning to do, like just not do Comadre Pansha, but also like do more comedy with myself as Joana.
Yeah, no, you're definitely a very busy person. I mean, you have all these projects, and so now let's actually talk a little bit about your experience with Living with Latinos, because now you're getting some funding and there's some more structure to it in a way. But how was that experience for you?
That experience was really great. Last year, I was in January in San Diego, California, and somebody contacted me because they needed content. Like I said before, I had like worked with Living with with Me Too. I had worked with other media, like social media, big deal kind of people for Latinos, but as a ghostwriter. So when this happened, they contacted me because they had seen my Comadre Pansha videos, and they're like, oh, you know, she's small enough. Like, she's not a big influencer. She has good comedy, but doesn't have many following. So it would be easier for them to grab. And okay, so every week I was flying from San Diego to Phoenix. I moved there, and because initially they invited me to do like some videos some videos for them, and then we would like for a Facebook watch show. So I left everything. I left my job. I left anything that I was doing here to go. Like, come on, if they ask you, do you want to work for a Facebook watch show that has this amount of followers? I was like, yeah.
And you were getting paid for it.
Yes. And when I first went there as a talent, they hired me as a talent, and then they hired me as producer. Mm-hmm. So I was the video producer, like organizing everybody, a team, and like just making videos. We were making to one point like 20 videos a week. Mm-hmm. And we were a team of, let's say, 7 actors, and I was acting, holding the boom, holding like, you know, trying to produce, writing, and at one point everybody had to do that, you know, because it was such a demand, and it was a channel that bases on like putting a lot of content. So it was great. I got to meet a lot of amazing people I still have contact with, and they have great talent, from the editor to the lighting person to like the protagonist of the show to the creators of the show. It was great. Like it was such an experience. Like it was very heavy. I must say that, but I really liked it.
No, and now how long were you there doing that for? How long did the project last?
Their project is still going, mm-hmm. I believe. For me, my journey lasted from January until like September, October. Mm-hmm.
And that was the same year?
Yep.
Okay.
The same year, like moved from town to town, like a lot of, it was very rush, but it was the adrenaline.
Yeah, exactly. No, and then you're also now you're putting out you said at least 20 videos a week, or recording them at least. And I mean that's a lot of,
not at least, like that was the goal. Sorry.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, that is a lot. We were at least we did 15 mm-hmm. to 20, let's say, a week. Yeah, that is a lot. Mm-hmm.
Oh man. When did you sleep? Because it seems like you were just working all the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you saw my stories, right?
Oh yeah.
No, yeah. I didn't, especially because I was like the producer. But this is something that I was never forced into. Like it was something that I liked because I wanted to perform, you know, like, oh my God, I was always that kind of person. Like, why did you give me an A, not an A+? You know, if you ask me for 12, I'll give you 13. If you ask me for something, I'll give you more than that. So I didn't. I was working so much. And even when you sleep, let me tell you something. You get dreams about like, what's my next video about? Like, oh, I didn't call this person, or like, oh, I'm running late. But I know it doesn't look very healthy, right? It doesn't sound very healthy, but it was really fun. And it was a choice that I made.
Yeah. And so when this ended, well, first of all, why did it end? Was it like a mutual departure? Everybody just kind of had their own things to do, their own projects now, and or what was the reason behind just, you know, ending? Because you had already moved for this, and yeah, now all of a sudden,
look at you getting the tea. As I mentioned before, it has not ended. The channel is still there. It ended for me and for other members of the team. Last year, it was Facebook went through, and not just Facebook, but like all social media went through like an ups and downs, and there was a lot of layoffs everywhere, not just in Living with Latinos, in Me Too, and Huffington Post, and Vice, and secretly, my favorite page was Super Deluxe, and they completely disappeared because of the layoffs that that social media, like I said, you have to be super updating yourself. Like you have to update yourself daily, not even daily, hourly, because things change so fast. So an algorithm can change your whole career, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So for us, when it changed, they just told us they had 4 teams in Living with Latinos. They had 3 teams, 2 in Mexico and 1 in the US. So it was time for the team in the US to
Close
say
its
goodbye.
doors. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to close the stories. And they were really kind. Luis like was one of my was my boss, the creator of Living with Latinos. Like he was really kind. He was like, hey, I know, like I had just moved there, lived for 6 months, but he was like, oh, I'll help you with whatever you need.
Yeah.
But it was really hard for everybody. And I mean, layoffs are not great, especially when it doesn't depend, because it's not that you're doing a bad job. It's not that you're not funny. It's not that you're not attractive. It's not that you're not likable. It's just that it is social media, and like that, as quick as it comes, as quick as it goes, you know? So I learned with that process that you need to have a very thick skin, and you need to be persistent, because if this is your dream, like if your dream is creating or being a spokesperson, or be a model, or be an actress, whatever you want, like you have to be persistent, because you're gonna get kicked on the face.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless if it was something inanimous, if it was something, whatever it is, like you're gonna get, you gotta have like that skin of the elephant, you know? And you keep your feet grounded. You gotta keep tough and just listen, learn from it, and move on. Because if you don't move on, like what's gonna happen? Like, where's your legacy? Like you gotta keep on learning, keep on moving, keep on creating of everything and experience. And I still have a great contact with them, and there's no, I'm creating a project that I want to bring them back. Like people I met, for example, like Carla Marie, who's super talented, like Terrence Lane. He's a great comic. Like his stand-ups are the best. And Eric, like he's really great. So like I want to make something so they can make an appearance, because we know everything about each other, and like how if one farts, we know who was what, you know, like what a person's favorite food is, like you know, we were together 24/7 for so long that, I mean, I think that was a show. A show about making a show.
Yeah, there you go.
But it would be really fun, and I consider them my brothers, and Carlita my sister, and Yesenia too. Like we were together all the time, so it was great. It was great, and I don't think this is it. You know, you never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly. No, and your group built such a fan base that you know, when you stopped doing the videos and the other Latino teams came up with their videos, you always would see these comments like, "Oh, bring back the original cast." They always thought they always referred to you, all of you guys, as the original cast,
the originals.
Yeah, the OGs, and I mean, at the same time, you're playing in this digital playground, this digital space that, you know, it's still people, I think, are still trying to figure out how it works and what you can do with it. And like you said, you know, one day it's here, one day it's gone. You don't know, because there's no real proven formula out there that you can follow to the teeth that will give you success on digital every single time. But at the same time, would you say that you consider yourself a pioneer in this field?
Not at all. No, not at all. In this field of what?
Oh, digital.
And digital.
Yeah,
no.
doing digital work. Not you know, skipping TV or anything else? Be your own person,
Oh,
do your own self-promoter.
I saw it emerging. We started when I started my career in acting. Like we started a YouTube channel, and we were there. And I had to leave it, like I said, because I had to go to grad school and all that. It wouldn't give me the time, but we saw it there. I was lucky enough to be called by Beatriz Acevedo, who's like the founder and president. I don't know if she's the president anymore, but like the founder of Me Too. We are Me Too, Me Too. And she saw something in me and us and my team, and we were like so grateful. But then I had to go to grad school and university and all that, and I saw how it evolved, and I find myself like in between, like, oh man, like this was so cool, YouTube, and now Facebook, and then now it's Instagram stories,
Mm-hmm.
and podcasting is great too,
Yeah.
as well. And so I feel like I'm in the process of like learning and adapting, which is, I think, is the greatest, because you have to learn and adapt,
Yeah, that's the great
because
thing
it's
about
social media.
yeah, and that's the great thing about doing digital is that it keeps you on your toes because it's
Mhm.
ever changing. So you're changing
Don't you
with it.
know?
You're trying, yeah, and you're trying new things, and you're seeing what works and what doesn't. And I personally think that it's a wonderful space to be creative. If you want to be creative, bam, like make your own YouTube channel, your podcast, or play around with Instagram and see what that
Mhm.
offers. I have a friend of mine who actually was a guest on one of the episodes of this podcast early on, who
Mhm.
started a news. I don't want to call it service, but it was like a news um, show, if you will, on Instagram.
Uh-huh.
And it's just on Instagram. That's where you can get it.
Mhm.
So she does her own graphics for it, and she explains what's
Mhm.
going on. And then there's somebody else that I know
Huh.
that is doing news for broadcast, for TV in Los Angeles. But on the side,
Mhm.
she has this Instagram news show. She calls it News Quickies.
Oh,
And
that's great. Yeah.
yeah, and it's fantastic. It's well shot, well lit, well edited. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
and
It's where it's going, and
yeah,
you need to adapt. Mhm. Oh, let me tell you something.
yes.
Did I interrupt you again?
No, 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 no.
Okay, let me tell you something. My favorite thing I saw this weekend was the stories of Eve.
Mhm.
Uh, the stories of Eve is fate Instagram stories of a girl living in Hungary who was Jewish during the Second World War. So I told you I was a history MA, right? But I loved
Yeah.
how they portray the stories through Instagram,
Hmm.
like her whole history of like where she was living, and it's very interactive, and it's also, you can see it as if she was seeing it.
Hmm.
So it's a 13-year-old girl. I believe it's 13. I might be wrong, but like she's living in Hungary, and she tells you through Instagram stories how she lived in the 1930s in Hungary during the Second World War and the Nazis. I was like, oh my God, this is how you adapt to tell a story.
Hmm.
Something such with such importance as, like, oh my God, the Holocaust, we all know about that, but how do you adapt into new social media? That's what I was looking at. Like, how do you adapt into the most popular one is Instagram stories. So like, I was impressed by that,
Well,
and
and
that's it.
and no, I'm glad that you bring that up because one thing about these social media platforms is they also evolve with times. And I mean, do you remember the time when Instagram and Facebook too, I guess, came out with the going live feature, Insta Live or
Yeah.
Facebook Live, and
Mhm.
it was the rage. I mean, it kind of still is, but Instagram in particular, I mean, it just kind of really skyrocketed with all these cool little features. And now I think
Yeah. when they got bought by Zuckerberg.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so now I'm glad that they made it so that you can still do like these 15-second stories, but it's continuous. So if you shoot something that's a minute long, it just kind of, goes in 15-minute increments, but it looks flawless when you're viewing the story all together. So now that opened up the possibilities.
Yeah, highlights. Yeah, correct. The highlights. Yeah, you can go and watch it, and because I'm not only intrigued by comedy, but I thought it was a very inspirational way of storytelling. Like, storytelling is the most important thing, and you can go, like you said, and go look at their highlights and and see, like, go through the whole journey.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what's your favorite Instagram feature?
Oh my God. You know what? When you're making a story and the purple one that makes you feel like not shit with your face. Like, you're just like, oh, I might be pretty. No, my favorite is the one with the when you're making a beat out of everything. It can make anything look like a party. Like, if you're writing or just washing your hands, it makes it like go like, woo! And like, it doesn't matter what kind of day you're having. You put that feature on Instagram, you're like, yeah, I got this. What's yours?
Awesome. Oh man. Well, I really like the ability to put a music or a song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because then you can just tell if you wanted to, you can tell your mood without saying anything.
Yeah.
Or if you want to throw people for a trip, just if you're sad, put a happy music, or if you're so happy, put a really sad song and see what happens.
You know what? That reminds me so much of MySpace. MySpace. I don't know how old you are. How old are you?
I'm this many. Let's see. After you hit like 30, you kind of forget. I want to say 33.
Yeah.
I think I'm 33.
Okay, so we're in our La edad de Cristo, dice la Comadre Pansha. Okay, so you had MySpace.
Oh yeah.
MySpace was about making friends through music, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like Instagram combined like the Facebook and MySpace together, and just that ability that you can put your song and make you feel in the mood that you are. You can also teach people about like your music taste and stuff. I like that feature a lot.
Yeah. It has a ton of great features, and I recently, I don't know if you have what's it called, Snapchat. I don't know if you got into that or not.
Yeah, I used to have it, but no.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. It's the same response that I always give to. Yeah, I used to have it, but now I don't.
No.
And so
I think it's more for like not children, like younger generations.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I recently went in it after.
There's a lot of market there. Sorry. I keep interrupting.
No,
there's a lot
this
of
is
market
good.
there.
Yeah, and I don't know how. Well, I went in there finally after like a couple of years of not using, maybe even 3 years. But I find out that they revamped the whole thing. So now Snapchat is a little better to use. There's still a lot of limitations that I think Instagram has exploited very well and done very well. And so when Instagram started coming out with features that rivaled Snapchat, I was like, oh man, I wonder now it's a war, between these two giants of photo taking platforms.
Have you seen yourself as a woman in Snapchat? Everybody's going crazy these last like 2 days over how you can look a man as a woman through a Snapchat filter. Have you done that? Have you seen yourself?
No, the only time that I kind of saw that was when I did the face swap with
No, try it. Now that you have it.
Okay, all right, I will.
Okay, this is your homework. You have to post that picture on Instagram, how you look in your Snapchat as a woman?
Oh man, I can already feel the call coming in from my mom. Miko, what? What is going on?
Do one of those photo shoots like you're together and it's yourself. So she was like freaked out.
Oh man.
No, but that's my homework from me to you.
Okay, sounds good. You got it.
No,
Challenge
I like
accepted.
that. Great. I'm waiting for it. I like that Snapchat tried to do a lot of these new shows, like, for example, Me Too had the Cholo guys. Remember those?
I vaguely.
Vaguely. So they had this Cholo guys and they Snapchat got it for quick stories, which is now Instagram stories. See, Instagram is the best because it combines everything.
Yeah.
Like all social media in one. So he started doing a show about like how to make things from nothing, from scratch. Like if you want to make a flower bouquet, he'll, with whatever he has in his home, he'll do it in 10 seconds or so.
Wow.
And then there was the Cash Me Outside girl. Cash Me Outside. She has a show there too. Like Snapchat started doing real shows, their own shows, and becoming their own platform, like Amazon did, like that. So I'm really curious about that. I haven't explored it yet so far.
Yeah, and then Instagram kind of also has their own YouTube-like feature.
Yeah.
The IGTV.
Yeah, IGTV. Yeah.
Have you explored or played around with that feature?
Yeah. I think it could do better.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Because usually you see looping the same video. Like they have to be more strict about that.
Yeah, and
with the content, I mean.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, because sometimes like people who have a lot of followers to go to memes, like they just put the same video going over and over. So like if you're a platform for creators, I still think that YouTube is still the best way to go, because it helps creator, like it has so many rules, but if you're a true creator, you pull out through,
Yeah.
people want to really see your content, you can pull that through. And podcasting, but other than that, if it's a quick something quick, like use use Instagram. Facebook, I don't know where you stand anymore. Please tell me.
I know. Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg just,
Right.
I think he's the one that just said that Facebook should split up.
Yeah. It was all because of the trials last year. Like, come on, dude, we're waiting. Stop playing with me.
Yeah.
Dedicating waterfalls on you. Don't go to...
Oh man. So Joanna,
anyway.
okay,
yes.
Okay, so going back to the living with Latinos and that chapter ending in your life. Actually, one of the things I'm curious. Oh, well, two things. One is when you received the word that it's over. Were you devastated, or did you take that as a blessing in disguise and to kind of catapult you to doing other projects? And also, my second thing is, where did you go after that? What projects did you get into?
Oh my God, he loved the tea, huh? Comadre. No. Okay, so let's start with the first one. When I was notified that what you said, when I was notified that I was laid off, right?
Yeah, or that it had ended, that chapter was over.
Oh, you know me. I'm a very emotional person, and I'm a very creative person. So, like, of course, I took it with them. I was like, thank you very much, because you always have to, come on, have educación. Tengan un poco de educación. Like, thank you so much. Great, let's do this. Okay, great, thank you. Pero in my house, I was like, taking a bath of salt and just being in my tears, like just let it out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks when you're laid off. I'm gonna be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least for me, that I'm an emotional. And I was just like just sleeping for a day, and then the next day I woke up and I was like, okay, bitch, what's your next move? Because that's what I do. Like you let it all out. It's like you break up with a boyfriend who you like,
Mm-hmm.
and he just it can happen.
Yeah.
It's not actually. It's not like that. Like it's worse. we and then the next day we're like, okay, great, let's move on. And the first thing I thought about was like, where am I gonna go? I have a motto. If I have one motto in my life, is like, don't focus on what, focus on how.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I'm a good producer, because don't focus on what is wrong. Focus always on how to fix it. If I have a friend come in, it's like, oh, I'm coming in, but I have this. It's like, how do we fix this? And if you know me as a person, like, you know, I'm the person to come like, how. But so that's how it become. And then I just moved back to San Diego, and that was it. Like,
Mm-hmm. So
like getting back up was hard. I'm still feeling like Bambi getting back up, like, hey, what's up? but
yeah.
that was it. Yeah.
And so let's talk a little bit about the projects that you are currently doing.
Mm-hmm.
What endeavors have you gotten yourself into now?
Ooh, it's really fun. I am working currently in a web series, and I am working with Amazon Audible.
Mm.
So let's wait for that. Not only as a ghostwriter, but also in a story with La Comadre Pansha that you all like, hopefully, with La Comadre Pansha. So like, and reclaiming my time, you know, like reclaiming my social media and see where it is going. It was like the best part of all this experience, that you have a reset button for yourself as a creator, as a writer, as an actor, as everything, and be like, oh, okay, this happened. Okay, reset, situate yourself, and reset. What do you want to do? You got a cathartic moment, you know, like ¿qué quieres hacer? Where you want to go? How you want to be? How you want to be shown
Mm-hmm.
and seen, and that's it. But I'm working on those two projects, and hopefully something else comes, but I don't want to jinx it.
Is there something that you want to do in the future?
Hmm.
That you haven't tackled already?
Yes, I want to be writing film series, and a film and series, like a TV show or like a Netflix show, or like just like a series,
Mm-hmm.
and or films. I have like two in mind that I want to do, but like I said, I'm like, I need time because you work through your day job as a creator, and then you come back, and then you have to write and make all those together. And once you have the product, like you need money to do it, you know. So I hope I can I can make those things happen.
Yeah.
The film and the web series. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. No, that's awesome, and I feel that you pretty much dabbled on a lot of titles and roles and positions in within a creative team. Is there like one role that you think you're stronger at?
Yeah. Yeah, understand this. Like if you're gonna be a creator, a content creator, you have to put on your many roles jacket, your jacket of editing,
Mm-hmm.
your jacket of writing, your jacket of acting, your jacket, like you have many roles. But yeah, the ones that I really like is production. I overthink things a lot, but but it fits perfectly with that, and this is why I'm good at it. And writing, just creating, and I'm a very good actor actually. So yeah, I think those three, because
Mm-hmm.
why can you be multi-talented, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna say I'm a very good singer. I'm not. But why can you be multi-talented? I'm a person who loves to act, who loves to write and create stories. You can tell me anything right now, like, oh, I have an idea about this, and I'll already give you a plot
Mm-hmm.
a second later, like, oh, let's do this and this. And yeah.
Do you think that you'll ever want to own your own business, or do you just want to, kind of stay on the creative side and kind of let others handle the administrative side?
Of course I want to have my own because I want to be able, I'm going to be successful one day, let's say. I'm going to be successful and I'm going to be shining, you know? But I want to bring and help other generations who want to speak their mind and share their voices the same way. Like, it cost me so much trouble to get where I'm going to that I want to ease it up for other generations.
Mm-hmm.
And I want people to share their stories because we all have interesting stories and we need to be heard about. We need to do it. And it doesn't matter if it's comedy, it doesn't matter if it's like a drama or something, but we need to know about our stories. And yeah, it'll be something that I want to do.
Well, see, go for it.
It doesn't matter if it's my own business and my own production house, or it could be like sharing my stories through a podcast like yours, or it could be sharing my stories through a scholarship. I think I would like to open a scholarship.
That would be amazing. Wow. I love that. And see, I'm telling, like, I think you're a pioneer because just like,
I think so.
well, yeah, because all you need is like the horses and carriage. But no, like, just like the people that came, the generation that came, before us, and they opened the door. I think now it's up to this generation also to keep opening doors. I think it's really up to every generation to keep opening doors and doors for future generation. I think you're already doing that by what you do, and you're a creative artist, and yeah, you say you're going to be successful one day, but I think you already are. I mean, you got all these projects that you've been part of. You have your fans, that love and support you. You have family, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so I think, and this is why I wanted to also talk to you for the podcast, because I think that your story is unique in many ways, but that also I think that just the steps that you've taken to get to where you are now, I think that's going to be an inspiration for somebody else out there that's listening to this that wants to even follow in your footsteps, or maybe just doing any other jobs. Because I think what we talked about today applies to really anything that you're doing.
Yeah, anything that you create, for me, it has to have a meaning. But this is my story, and this is my comedy, and this is what I put out there. And this is what I think it's valuable to tell. And anybody can look at it different. Like, you can make whatever makes you happy and you want to create. Cool. There's might be people who consume it, but at least this is mine, and we're working on it.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things I'm actually curious about, talking about just comedy, is what are your thoughts about some of these comedians out there that are getting too political with their comedy now, to a point where it's not, it's really not for the laughs anymore. So what do you think about that type of direction comedy is heading for some?
Are you talking about like stand-up comedians?
Yeah. Or even like late night talk show comedians too.
Late night talk shows. Yeah. I mean, and I'm gonna be butchered by this, but I love two comedians right now that are embracing politically correctness so well. One is Dave Chappelle, and the other one's Ricky Gervais. I love how they're embracing. And Sarah Silverman, through her social media. She's not doing so much through stand up, but like through her social media, like she's like questioning things, I believe like comedy is the basis of social criticism. Like smart comedy is the best. Like, you can't, if you get it, like, it means you're doing it in this society. But you can take anything so literal. And right now, we live in a spotlight that anything you said can be against you, basically.
Yeah, used against you in the court of public.
The inquisition of words. And of course, I'm for like equal rights for everyone. I'm a feminist. Like, I'm a progressive. I'm a feminist, but also leave it a room to laugh a little. And I think those two comedians like do it very well. Like Ricky Gervais, especially in his last time, like he was really good at talking about it. It's not like what you talk about is the subject and making a laugh at it. Like, and I've gotten with La Comadre Pansha. I did a video about pride, where she goes and interviews people, and she asks a person who's bisexual. She's asking like, "Oh, so what are you?" And she's like, "I'm bisexual." And in her ignorant mind, she's like, "Oh, well, to me, that's a hoe." And they laugh about it. And that's a satire. But to other people, they started, I started getting bashed online.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, oh, that's offensive. But my same followers, who you would consider 80% of my followers are like male, and usually are in the spectrum of LGBTism, and they were defending the comadre, so they backed up. But anything you can say in comedy, it can be taken the wrong way, and it depends how much attention you pay on it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think it's important. I don't think that comedians should limit themselves. But I was listening.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast from Bill Burr, who's this comedian, very raunchy. But he's funny, and
he's great. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, and he said that when he goes overseas to perform comedy, he always has like this, I wouldn't say a fear, but just a slight concern that maybe the folks overseas won't get his type of comedy. But he says, yeah, I went to Israel, and
it's easier.
Yes, this year.
Yeah.
And it says I performed my stand-up comedy over there, and everybody was just laughing. I even said
exactly.
Yeah, it says like I even made a Hitler joke, and they were just laughing.
Yeah.
And he says, but then I come here to my country, the U.S., and
so worried.
Yeah, and it's like everybody's getting so offended over every little thing. It's insane. So yeah, I don't know when that is going to change, but also, I mean, I
have a theory.
Yeah, I want to hear your theory.
Say what you were going to say, but I have a theory.
Yes. I want to hear it.
I'm the worst podcaster.
This is fun. No.
I have theory. I think because this is a country that, I mean, you keep being burned in your tongue for drinking a hot coffee, and then McDonald's paying you for suing them. Like, this is a country that is like very, like, you can say or do anything because demanda, like you'll be sued for something. Like, oh man, this is so wrong, and that. But yeah, that's my theory, because everybody's so touchy because you don't want to be wrong. Because here, like, you have you don't not only have the law, like legal, real law, but you also have that social law being, is it like the modern Inquisition? But I'm in a pickle because I love, like, hey, people should be respected. Like, people should have rights. Like, this is wrong, this is right, But at the same time, like, oh my God, he's just telling a joke. Take a joke. Like, just like, yeah, it doesn't mean that he will do it. But then it turns out they do it. So you're like, oh my God, what is going on? But yeah, I don't know if that was a theory or whatnot. But yeah, I met a lot of comic friends who would like travel abroad, and they're like, yeah, it's easier
Yeah.
to say a
Oh yeah, no,
joke.
they're killing it, overseas. It's just it's a
Relax,
yeah,
and
it's a whole
yeah.
different atmosphere. That's for sure. From everybody that I hear this from, either through podcasts
Oh,
or
really?
yeah. Um, yeah, so it's yeah, you kind of gotta be careful on what the type of stuff you put out there, because you just never know. All these trolls seem to just pop up for whatever you do.
There's so many things that I want to post online that I don't,
Hmm.
because I'm like, ugh. What if they say this? What if they say that? Blah, 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 blah. And then you have pre-written answers. Like if they say this, I'm gonna, like, all that overthinking. You don't. Why? Why can't you just like
Yeah,
post it and that's it? Like you gotta be. And I know I'm not the only one. Like a lot of creators are like, "Oh my god, what if I post this?" That anxiety, it builds up an anxiety on the creator. Like I don't want to, because they are gonna say something.
yeah. And right now, I have reservations about posting certain things too, because I know my
Really?
mom is watching.
Oh,
Yeah, that's why I had a reservation about the
the
chicken.
whole
But
world is
yeah,
watching.
but that's why I had like reservations about posting the chicken mole for a while. The picture of it, and sure enough, like I said earlier in the podcast, to get the call from my mom, "Are you cheating on me with somebody else's mole?" Um, so yeah, I mean, you get all these crazy comments out there, and I think you can either accept that you're going to get these comments no matter what you do. I mean, you could put like the most innocent
Yeah,
thing
no
out
matter.
there, yeah, or you can dwell on
Mm.
it too much. I actually know people that have gotten off social media altogether because of comments like this. Just
Hmm.
kind of they gave up and they want to deal with it. But then there's others that I know that just
Yeah,
kind of relish in it, and they invite that type of criticism.
yeah, exactly. Because you know the saying, que hablen bien o que hablen mal, pero que hablen. Like talk bad, talk
Exactly.
good, but like keep talking.
Yeah, exactly.
And at the end of the day, the like conversation is what makes us great. Like having a conversation and sharing our. One thing is a conversation and discussion. One thing, another thing is yelling about it. But like, I believe like conversation and talking about it, and it's what's make us great. Like sharing our points of views and saying like, "Hey man, I don't agree with you, but cool,
Yeah. Well,
thank
and
you."
then
One thing is that.
yeah, exactly. And you know what they say? Like they say that in the well, especially like during Thanksgiving, this comes out all the time. But they say at the dinner
Mm.
table, if you want to keep the peace, don't talk about politics, don't talk about religion. So you know what I
Yeah.
do? I talk about politics and I talk about religion. But
So you're left alone at the table.
yeah, just the way I like it, so that I can get all the food. It just scares everybody
Yeah,
off.
exactly.
But have you
I do the same.
yeah, no, I was gonna ask, like, have you gotten into a
No, no,
situation
no.
like that where you all of a sudden like you start talking about something and then everybody just goes at each other's
Oh,
throat?
no. No, I don't. Because usually with family or with friends?
Both.
You like the drama, man.
I'm Mexican, man. I'm into chisme and drama.
Yeah, yeah. No, usually I'm like, okay, calm down,
Yeah.
because we don't want, like, I have enough. And family is like, oh my God, calm down. And they look at me to calm it down. So I just like, oh, back up a little bit. But like with friends, no, I don't like instigating.
Hmm.
You're an instigator. I don't like instigator, because then you have
Yeah.
homework. Yeah, like, oh, you have to talk to one another, and when you're like, oh my God, just chill. There's so many real things out there, like that you should be worried about. That if she wore the same dress, let's say, or something superficial, because instigating, it could be something. Or you mean instigating like real talk?
Yeah, I mean, both, I guess, because if you're trying to get real talk out of people, sometimes they just don't respond well.
Real. They don't.
Hmm.
They don't. Okay, I have a lot of friends who don't like to be on social media anymore, because they feel like they have to teach everybody. Like, if somebody doesn't agree with you, like they comment or do stuff like, oh, I got tired because people think the wrong way. They're fighting with people online.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, like I think it's great that people have other opinions, that you like it or not. That's one thing, but at least we have that freedom, like to be able to communicate and stuff. But like, you don't have to get angry. I used to get really angry about it, and was like, oh no, this is how it is, and I'm gonna show you the proof. But you're not on social media to teach anyone. Like just, you can't change it anyway. It's just a comment, and that's it. Like, a lot of people would support you, and like, you're welcome, and but chill.
Yeah.
Basically chill and be nice to people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I always ask myself, what would Jesus do whenever
I know.
But as we wrap this episode up,
Oh my God, I'm so regretting doing this.
no, why?
What did I say?
But no, actually, as we wrap things up, I just want to go back to family, since we kind of touched a little bit on the family thing. But what was the support like in your family when you decided to get into comedy and doing what you do more on a full-time basis, rather than kind of get a traditional job? Because like with Mexican parents, like, oh, you gotta be a lawyer, mijo, or you gotta be a doctor, like,
yeah.
what was the support like for you?
I'm not gonna say there was none, because they don't know it exists. Like, they don't know these careers exist. Like, my grandma moved from South Mexico into the border. My mom did the crossover, and I feel like now for me it was like, oh, let's do something bigger. But I feel like she's like occupied with herself, like raising all these children, that there wasn't many, like, she doesn't understand it. Like, there was a moment when I invited her to a theater, and she went there, and she was like, oh, great, that's awesome. But still today, if you ask her, like, what is she graduated from and what is she doing, she'll be like, I don't know. Like, I just give her food, make sure she's okay, and that's it. Like, make sure, like, como lo mínimo que se merece un hijo, como, pero no mucho, not a lot about, like, oh, you should do this in your career. Because also she likes comedy that I don't like. So, but the support is there, not for my comedy, but the support is there. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, that's
like, she doesn't even know what I'm doing, but she supports me regardless of whatever I want to do.
Yeah, she trusts that you're doing the best decisions for your life,
and of course she'll be opinionated, like, ay, mira.
Well, does she, or has she seen any of your comedy, your mom?
Yeah. Yeah.
When she saw Comadre Pansha, what did she think? It's like, are you basing this on me? What?
No, she hasn't. Actually, she hasn't said much. She's just like, oh, I got you a hat, and that's it. Like, not very expressing herself. My grandma, though, is like, because I'm like very, like, I always like punk rock, like I was like not the pretty girl in high school. I was being like the alternative one. And when she saw me dressed up as Comadre, she was like, por fin te vistes bien, qué bonita. You look so beautiful with the hats and stuff. I was like, oh my God, it's a character. And she thinks that's how I dress now. That was cute.
That's awesome. Oh, I love that.
I was like, oh, grandma. But yeah, they're supportive. Like, regardless of what I do, like, they will always have my back.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, it's good to hear.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I always like to kind of end things with my guests' pet peeves, because we all got them. So what are your pet peeves?
Pet peeves, when somebody ignores somebody, or me. Or you're talking about my personal
your personal pet peeves.
Ignoring somebody like, oh my God, I sent you an email. You just respond no instead of you just leaving it behind, or where you're talking to someone. Yeah, ignoring basically.
Mm,
Yeah, or being disrespectful.
mm.
But are you looking for something more shallow?
Well, now that you mention it, what do you have one that's very shallow?
Uh, okay, when eating, when you're eating and you're like, oh, I hate that. Did you hear that? Oh,
Yeah.
like you're eating some. Yeah, that's one of my pet peeves. Like,
That's
but
awesome.
yeah, but ignoring, like, what makes me angry is when you ignore someone. Like, hey, no. Mhm.
No, that's great.
Y masticar.
Yeah, yeah. No, well, you've probably seen the ASMR videos then, where people do that. They call it mukbang or
Oh,
mukbang,
yeah,
where
yeah.
they
I haven't seen them for
oh
a while, like for a long time, but like I know what they
yeah
do.
yeah
No, but I mean in public. Like I don't mind. I know that's with a purpose, and
mm,
like I know the purpose it does. But like when you're eating with someone face to face, and then they start doing that, and you're like, I
yeah, or
can't.
like when they like spit out little pieces of food when they're, because when
Uh,
they're talking while eating.
yeah. And nomás vuela, like it just flies out. Like
Yeah,
okay.
I think we all got somebody in our lives that does that, and so if you know that person, you just
You got what is your pet
oh
peeve?
man. So I've said so many on this podcast, but the one
Yeah.
that I recently just got triggered by was actually when I listened to this other podcast, and one of the people there kept saying, "Know what I mean?" after every single sentence.
Like me, my own.
No, no, I mean, this one was just, you know, I get to sometimes people say like a lot, you know, but then when you actually, when you
See,
add more syllables to it,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
is that's like, yeah, I know what you mean. You just said it. I understand. But so that's one.
Okay, I'm gonna say
Yeah.
something. I know for this you have to be eloquent and concise, but I'm just kidding. But sometimes we never been asked such personal
Hmm.
questions that you're being a little bit thrown off, you
Hmm.
know? You know what I mean? Because we asked about like a work, we're used to like, okay, what do you want to do and be on point. But when you ask about yourself and like your personal, like, oh, what is your bio story? Like that is something that we are not used to. So it's very
Oh
raw.
yeah, no, I totally understand that. What I'm talking about is people during regular conversations out and about when they're talking about, let's just say, something political or maybe something about you know,
Hmm.
something they saw in the news, and
Hmm.
so they're just talking normally, but they say.
Or what did you do yesterday? You know what I mean?
But if they, I mean, I understand it. If you know, if it's used sparingly, but like if you just use it often after at the beginning and end of each single sentence, it can get a little annoying. But
Hmm.
yeah, luckily I have not had any issues with any of the other guests that I've interviewed. Like so many, yeah,
Right?
there's just it's that's why I like doing this format podcast because it's a long format, so I get to learn more about the guest and also the people that are listening to this podcast know
Hmm.
and get to know that guest as well as a little bit about me, of course. But
Yeah.
yeah, when I came up with the title, a lot of people were like thinking, "Oh, is it gonna have food? Like, is it a cooking show? Is it are you gonna be showcasing recipes or what's the deal?"
We're hangry. We're hungry for
Yeah,
success. I have a similar project going on, but like I wanted to name it something similar like this because that's what we are. We're like hangry Mexicans. We're hungry for success. At least I am. What about
oh,
you?
I would say the same thing. Yeah, I mean, I can't stop
Hmm.
creating things. Yeah, I got my Monday through Friday
Yeah.
job, and then I decided to just create this
Hmm.
podcast because I was listening to so many podcasts on my commute, and A lot of the podcasts, they were either lacking something that I really wanted to be a component of those podcasts, or maybe they were just interviewing a certain type of person, and so I was like, you know what, I want to create a podcast that is a little bit more inclusive of everybody, because I love telling stories. I love telling community stories in particular. That.
You're really
Oh,
great.
well, thank you. It's just I'm a very curious person. I think that's a good trait to have when you're working in the news industry. You got to be very curious.
You never
Yeah,
know
yeah, and
what's gonna
yeah,
pop up.
exactly. But I just want to talk to people that are doing amazing things that you may not necessarily hear about on the news on a daily basis, or like these programs, or Hollywood magazines where they interview, like big name celebrities and stuff. Yeah, like I know there's a ton of people out there that are doing great things. Whether you're a local news journalist, or a content creator, or a YouTuber,
Yeah.
or just anything that you're doing that is helping, society in general, and help promote the next generation, and help promote that
Yeah,
positiveness.
exactly.
Yeah, and so
Yeah. I'm very honored to be in this I invited to this podcast, and to the Hangry Mexican. Thank you so much, Oscar. Like, I never thought I would be here, but I'm so honored. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you being my guest here. Loved it. It was a great podcast.
I'm doing a little dance you can see right now.
Huh? Didn't I tell you? Isn't she a little fun to listen to? Oh, I just had a great time talking with her and having her on this podcast, talking about life and career and family and a lot of other things. In fact, it was such a great conversation that after the episode stopped recording, we talked a little bit more off screen. And we ended up recording a little bit more just on something that was on her mind and she wanted to say. And here it is.
Muchas gracias. Hola. Thank you to the Hangry Mexican. This is Joana Gallo. Please follow my social media handles on Instagram and Facebook, Joana Gallo, and also La Comadre Pansha. Muchas gracias, Oscar. See you next time. Hear you next time.
And I, of course, will provide the links to those social media accounts in the description to this episode. So be sure to check that out. And if you have any questions or comments, please email them to hangrymexicanpodcast@gmail.com, because I would love to feature some of those comments or questions on the next episode. And of course, if you loved this episode and if you just like the podcast in general, rate it. Find us wherever you listen to your podcast and rate the Hangry Mexican podcast. Comment on it, review it, like it, and tell your family and your friends. I always think that word of mouth is probably the best way to get more ears on this podcast. Again, everybody, thank you for listening to this podcast, and it was a great way to kick off the month of June. So until next time, good night, good luck.